Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Voice Up Pod. And today, it's been a long time since we've recorded a podcast. So this is my co-host Janvi Kundra, and she's a psychologist. And since we've been talking for so long, and we've spoken about social media, we've spoken about goal setting on a clubhouse session, we've spoken on a lot of things, but we've never spoken about psychology, which is her field, and she's a psychologist. So, what do you do exactly, Janvi?
Hi, Arden. Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Janvi.
Yeah. It's a privilege to me to finally get on the topic where I belong to, because I
Exactly.
have talked a lot about a lot of things. I even got into tech. Like we talked about tech because of you. But yeah, I am
Yeah.
very privileged to talk about psychology today. So I'm a counseling psychologist, expressive art therapist, and a hypnotherapist. So I take therapies, I create content, I do mindset coaching, and I create my videos to give knowledge about psychology, give tips about how to deal yourself and how to deal with your in a better way. That is something where my profession revolves around.
Nice. What is hypnotherapy? Like, obviously, we've come across this question a lot because whenever someone hears hypno, they think about the highly
Cliche
illustrated,
hypnotizing.
yeah, highly illustrated hypnotherapy in. Is it hypnotherapy in the Bollywood movies with that keychain and stuff?
Absolutely not. So I know a lot of people perceive it that way, but hypnotherapy is more like consensual thing. Whenever we think about hypnotherapy, hypnotizing, or something related to hypno, we end up thinking that it would be something related to getting in hypnosis and getting in control of the person who is doing it. But the beauty of hypnotherapy is, since it's therapeutic, you have to be willing to do it, and I believe it brings, like, it pulls out all the fear from the people who thinks that you don't need consent to do hypnotherapy. No, it's not related to hypnotizing. Whereas hypnotherapy is a calming technique which can calm your subconscious. Now, a lot of things happen to us which
What
we
What is
don't.
subconscious? What is
Yeah.
subconscious?
So, are you aware about our conscious mind and our subconscious mind?
I have an idea, not very. I have a very general idea. I never
So
got
I'll be
deep into it.
talking, yeah. So I'll talk about it in a very generic way, not going deep into psychology, but a very generic example. When you are talking right now, you're talking with your conscious mind. You're conscious with your thoughts. You have control over your thoughts. Okay.
Right.
Subconscious mind is the area of mind which is responsible for your dreams, for your overthinking, for your thoughts, which are not in touch with you, which are involuntary for you. So, isn't it great to control those thoughts? Because those are the only thoughts which can give you anxiety, which can give you overthinking, sensations of stress. So, hypnotherapy calms your subconscious mind.
Okay.
And trust me, in hypnotherapy, if you tell me, Janvi, I would like to go to the mountains, can you give me that feeling? Yes, I can definitely take you to the mountains in that particular therapy. Power of hypnotherapy.
That is so awesome, yeah. So basically, what I understood from this is your conscious mind is your like in technical terms, you can call it the front end, and subconscious mind is the back end, right?
Ah,
It,
right,
it
right.
drives the operations.
Absolutely. And if you are getting into technicalities, then definitely you also know that back end is a lot more powerful than the front end, right?
Definitely, yeah. Okay, so I got a clear idea about what I wanted to know about your side of work. Now, when we talk about psychology, it's a very broad topic, right? And
True.
I won't get very deep into it, but whatever I understand is, and the my field of work, uh, from my perspective, I feel psychology is in everything. I've been reading this book, Psychology of Money. You know about that,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and yeah. So uh, the author, I forgot his name. The author talks about the psychology behind money. He says that it's less about economics, it's less about the technical financial stuff, and more about psychology. Like when you look at it, it's very easy to tell a person that you should be a long term investor, and you should just buy stocks and then leave them for the long term. But when your hard earned savings is put into the stock market and you see it decline by 60% someday, and that definitely happens, and it also happens in good
True.
stocks. So it's yeah. So you can't stay away from such a thing. And in Warren Buffett's life, it has happened multiple times. Okay, so Warren Buffett says that if your portfolio goes down by 50%, you should not have a problem with that if you're a long-term investor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of conviction. Like you have conviction on your stocks, on your research, and you know that these are good companies, and you're not investing for the price appreciation. You're investing because of the value you get, and you know that the value will appreciate of that company.
Okay.
Yeah, but this this is Warren Buffett we are talking about, the world's greatest investor. If you're
Yeah.
a normal investor, and you see you're down by 60%, you'll have that, like, let's understand a person's
I
psychology in this. Wait,
I might
yeah,
freak
wait,
out.
right, exactly. You might freak out because when you're investing, you're putting your hard-earned savings and
Hmm.
into it. And uh, suppose you have a family, you have a normal family. That family, you're gonna see your family and say that you're destroying their future,
Messing
because
up with
and
them.
then
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then uh, you're gonna
Regret
sell
my
at the bottom.
decision. Hmm.
Yeah, you're gonna sell at the bottom when
Oh,
your portfolio goes down by 60%. You feel that you're wasting your family's future savings, and you might sell. That's the psychology behind people who uh, get pressurized and under pressure of market scenarios. They start selling, especially in a bear market.
okay. But
So
this
yeah,
requires a lot of sustainability and a lot of patience, I believe.
it does. And it's very easy to talk about long-term investment, and like in especially in good bull runs like the one we're having right now. But if tomorrow your portfolio goes down by 50%, you're going to have a big problem with that. We are young people, we might not have a big problem with that, but suppose you're 35, you're 40, you're 45, you have a family, you have children, you're going to have a problem with that, a major one.
For
and
sure.
that's and that's where psychology in money comes in. And that's what I read in the book Psychology of Money. Like the first chapter talks a lot
Mhm.
about this, the psychology
Wow.
of investing. Yeah.
I am a
Um,
psychologist, but I wasn't really aware about the facts related to investing, which requires psychology. It's really
right.
mesmerizing for me.
Okay. So the author in the book, like I
Mhm.
said, he says that personal finance is more about psychology than like the complicated financial terms and economics. It's less about economics. It's less about finance. It's more about psychology. So,
Okay.
and that is why the book is named Psychology of Money. There's a very nice logo also. It's a brain made by dollars, US
Oh
dollars.
wow. It
So
it
nice,
does justice to the logo. It does justice to the name of the book
right?
itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was talking about psychology in anything. Now let's talk about psychology in consumer behavior and business. Kunal Shah talks a lot about status-driven society, and Kunal
Okay.
Shah is the founder of Cred, and he was the founder of FreeCharge, and
Hmm.
he's building products that are and he's building products where he understands consumer behavior so well that it like makes consumers use them, right?
Hmm.
And
Right.
those kind of products. And he's a brilliant entrepreneur because he understands consumer behavior.
True.
So
True.
let's talk about consumer behavior and psychology.
You were talking about status-driven society, right?
Yeah.
So, what, according to you, is that particular arena of society? Like the status-driven society who look for luxuries to just build up their status? Is it like that?
Okay. What I understand from the term is it's more like if you're buying a normal cloth piece of cloth without a brand, you would rather prefer something with a brand. And even if they're of the same quality, you prefer that brand. And that brand is because you want to
Show
show
your
your
status.
status. Ha, exactly.
So it's more like
Uh,
a symbol to you.
exactly. Like suppose I really do like the iPhone, but if a Samsung phone is doing the same job for you, uh, and you're buying an iPhone, then that's a part of the status driven.
True.
Yeah.
True. I totally agree with you, and I believe I myself I'm trapped into that culture itself because since you're talking about iPhone, it's very irresistible for me to switch from iOS to any other device. I'm least interested. I know other devices are far better than this. Still, I'm least interested to just switch because it's just serving the purpose. It's serving my status. It's serving everything I need. And I find pleasure after buying it, right? So it's more like a luxury.
Yeah.
Like whenever you buy something luxurious, there is a feeling coming from inside, which is giving you a pride kind of feeling. Guilty. I am guilty to have that. But yeah, it is, we are all humans and we are bound to have such feelings. So what is your biggest luxury
It's
item you bought so far?
Yeah, I'll come to that. But it's very interesting that you're a psychologist. You understand the psychology of this, and still you do that. And it should be
Right.
there. I really think it should be there because um we are also humans. Even if we understand the psychology behind those products, like how Apple is marketing them, how Apple has built it around a
True.
moat, and how they build their moat is because people think of Apple as a status, right?
Right.
And still we go for it. I go for Apple products because of quality and also brand. Okay, I'm guilty
True.
again, but yeah,
Yeah.
and we understand and we still go for them, and that's very interesting.
That is the entire structure behind developing their brand. Because they do something magnetic, Gucci. Let's talk about Gucci. It's the biggest brand. You would find a T-shirt just having a logo of Gucci, and it might cost you 6 digits, right?
Right.
Can definitely cost you that. But you won't mind buying it because it has a symbol, it has a luxury. It's not just a buy, it's a feeling related to it. So it runs over, I guess, pleasure principle. You find pleasure in buying such things,
Yeah.
right?
And what about superiority? Like
Oh,
you feel that
definitely.
superiority when you
So,
buy such products.
Aaron, if we talk about superiority, and since we are bringing human psychology in mind, then right from our early age, we are driving ourselves towards superiority. The early man itself, it has certain traits which shows a superiority principle. Everybody amongst us, we want to be superior. We want to look good. We want to be known by others. We love that. We crave that. And I haven't seen any human who feels that okay, they are okay with whatever they have. We have a drive. We have a drive to do better. We have a drive to be known, to feel the luxury. Who would deny? You tell me, Aaron. If we ask a person, if we ask a 10-year-old guy, a kid, not we can't call them a kid, but yeah, if you ask them to have a luxury which they don't have it, do you think they would ever deny? No.
No.
No, right? Because it is the most fascinating thing which everybody craves for. Even if the person who is a billionaire would still crave for the luxury, more luxury, more luxury. Because we humans are bound to have a non-satisfactory environment around us. We just can't settle. We are not made in such a our mechanism is not, what do we call it, non-satiety behavior. We work over a non-satiety behavior where we can't be satisfied. If we have a what do we call it, if we have a Ferrari today, we might look after getting a better version of that particular car or car from another brand. We won't settle that ठीक है अभी Ferrari ले लिया, now let's not buy anything. No, definitely we would look up for it, right? So it's a
Right.
principle. And there are various of consumer psychology which brands work upon. So there is a complex buying behavior, and according to this behavior, the companies focus upon the buying patterns of people who buy things seldom. As in, you won't buy house every now and then. It's a complex purchase for you, right?
Yeah.
You
Cars.
won't buy, cars, houses, or any kind of investment material, maybe a good land or a factory. You won't buy that now and then, just the way you buy chips. Definitely not, right? So there are companies who are working over magnetizing the people across that buying structure. So isn't it very interesting how people can drag you towards the complex buying things, how they can help you, how they can really make you invest high in it? Have you ever seen the advertisements of good housing societies? You want to buy
Yeah.
a 2 BHK, you might end up buying a 3
There's a
BHK.
there's a very good feel good factor. What do you call it? A feel good factor that you're
Yeah.
living in a bad place, and this is the best, the greatest
I
place ever.
know, right?
And
I know.
and they give you that feel in the advertisements.
And
And I think
yeah.
they're using, and I think they're using psychology very well, and I think these people are better psychologists than anyone. They must be hiring psychologists before doing these
No
things.
wonder, no
Yeah,
wonder,
and
definitely. And Anand,
marketing. Yeah.
yeah. So I was telling, do you know the reason why we are getting a lot of credit options, bank loans? Why do we get it? It has a
Mm,
big psychology behind it. So the psychology behind giving you credit for how home loans or just the basic, you swap your credit card and you can buy a luxury phone. It's as simple like that. So why are they doing it? They are doing it because they want to promote your purchases. Now let's suppose you have 1 lakh in pocket. Earlier, like let's suppose we are in 2001. You had 1 lakh in pocket. Yeah. So
yeah.
you would like to spend 10,000 on your phone and rest you would like to keep for maybe buying a computer. So might be 20,000 for your computer and yet rest you can keep it for your household chores and everything like that. But now this credit principle has given you the privilege to buy things even if you have 1 lakh in pocket, you can still buy things worth rupees 1 lakh. Why? Because they are giving you installment options. They are giving you an option to pay the EMI on zero down payment. And it has made the process so easy. We think that it is easy for us. It's amazing for us. But the back end intent behind it is to make you buy more and more things. Now you have not paid anything, right? So your
Mhm.
psychology is like, I haven't paid anything. I can still buy more things. So even after buying a phone worth rupees 1 lakh, you won't hesitate buying maybe a smartwatch for rupees 25,000. That won't cause you more trouble because you feel like I have to pay my money into installments. And that is the vicious circle of purchasing. You end up buying and buying and buying, which is somewhere down the line a good thing. You are, increasing your lifestyle pattern. You are increasing your luxuries in your life, which is a good thing. But at some extent, people get stuck into the trap of credit. So it's very important to manage your finances. Very important to know that you're not trapped in this vicious
Right.
circle.
Right. You know, there's a Hindi saying, uh,
Hmm.
शेर को खून चटा दिया है, शेर के ऐसा कुछ है ना.
Yeah,
So it basically means
lat lag
you.
jati hai. You get addicted to buying.
Yeah, exactly. And if a lion comes in contact with blood, he obviously a lion loves
Craves for
to
more.
craves for more, right? And that exactly what happens here. Um, you are given luxury, and you given that uh, shown that amazing life which you never had, and
Hmm.
that's what you crave for, and that creates more purchases. Like credit card system is a crazy psychology wala system. Seriously,
Absolutely.
once you start swiping, it's very difficult to leave that.
Yeah, and you know what? There is a kind of like, what do you think? Are you a complex buyer?
uh
Not yet, not yet, right? Maybe in
mm,
future, but not yet.
no, I'm more of a uh
Investing buyer.
yeah, I buy stocks.
I have invented this new term, investing buyer.
Investing. Okay, so
Okay,
if you look at investors, right,
yeah.
they and you look at their houses, and they understand money,
True.
and they understand what companies do to us to like make us crave for more.
Hmm.
And an investor's approach to life is perfect. You know why? Because they know how much they need to save, how much they need to earn. They've already calculated how much they're gonna get CAGR per
Hmm.
year, per annum, and they know exactly what is going to be their net worth in 10 years. And they are looking for those that 10-year goal, and not that small piece of validation they get from you. Am I using the right word? Validation from buying an iPhone or something. Investors are very good at buying at low prices, whether it's a stock or whether it's a stock. There's a very famous saying from Warren Buffett only.
Hmm.
It means this only. Like, I'd never buy something for a bad price, like non-sensible price.
Hmm.
And I think that should be the psychology
I know, right?
for
I ha-
everyone.
I have seen people who just get into a store, never looks over price tags, and just fill their basket with a lot of clothes, a lot of accessories, never sees their price tag. I have like come across a lot of people in my circle around me, observing people around me who I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know whenever I go to stores. And I personally feel like even if I ever become a millionaire or a billionaire, I would never end up buying something without seeing the price tag. Because if I
Right.
cannot see the price tag, I don't feel like it's worth it. I am just being a very stupid purchase, a very stupid buyer. And you know what it is, what this term is called? So this term is called dishonest buying. So in this particular term,
Dishonest buying.
no, dishonest, DISSO,
Dissonance. Okay.
dissonance, yeah,
Hmm.
DISSONANCE. So
Yeah.
this is the kind of buying pattern where you end up buying something, and we all have experienced it. First, we buy it, and after a few hours or maybe few days, we end up regretting that buy. Why did we buy? Why the hell we bought it? So, have you ever felt this way?
Yeah, a lot of times. Definitely.
Yeah. So, this is the kind of trap we can get into if we are not looking over the price tags. And the company market their products in such a way that we get into this trap. They just want to sell it. Okay.
Right.
A lot of companies are there in the market to just sell their products. They don't want customers to be satisfied that they want to come again. A lot of companies want that, even if it's a one-time purchase, they want the buyers to come, and they are not really looking for long-term buyers or the loyal customers. They are just looking for bulk buyers like that.
Right. Right.
I don't feel like it's a
Big
good platform to talk
big
about.
shopping stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to name them, but we all know
Yeah.
it when I call that.
Yeah. Got
Yeah.
it. Now we were discussing about people like you said that it's a status driven society, but I've seen a lot of people be contented with what they have, and they're very good at their choices. Like I,
True.
I have an uncle, he's really very rich, and he still buys a normal Samsung phone, like something like a J7 or something he bought, and it's a very cheap phone, and he said that this solves my purpose and I don't need more.
I know, right?
How do they function? And we need to learn from them too.
Yeah,
We are in the trap of this status driven society, definitely. And
true.
you ask me what I want a Tesla, right? And
Yeah.
it's because of Elon Musk. I love Elon Musk. Part of it, it's because of Elon Musk, and I want to own something that his company has made. But
Uh-huh.
part of me is because that I want to reach to that level of monetary gain that I can afford that, and it's totally totally because of the status you get with owning a Tesla.
I
So
know, right? And if we are talking about your uncle, nobody knows about him, but yeah, definitely, it's a great example. Let me give you an example of Ratan Tata.
yeah, great
He
man. Yeah.
he owns he owns Jaguar. He has Range Rover, Land Rover under him, and at the
Yeah.
same time, he won't mind roaming in a Honda City, a simple Honda City. He
No, he doesn't roam in a Honda City. He obviously uses a Tata car, Tata Motors car.
No, he do have a Honda City or
Oh,
something related to Honda as well. I have
okay,
seen, I have read about it somewhere. So I am
okay.
just saying that that person can flaunt a lot. You must have seen him in very basic clothing. You would have never encountered him into wearing a fancy Gucci suit or a
Mm-hmm.
track pants from Versace or something like that. Nothing flashy, nothing like that. Still maintaining his personality, still being a status symbol, because their funda is simple. They don't want to show their status symbol from the materialistic things. Rather, they want to become a status symbol.
Right. They
See,
want to promote contentedness.
that is true. And, we are hustling towards showing we are doing good because we are wearing this, we own that. But they have made themselves on such a great platform that they don't need anybody else's affirmation to tell that this person is doing good. You know, the psychology behind we looking and hustling for status symbols is that we want validation from people that, oh my God, Aaron got a Tesla. He must be doing a great job. He must be running a
Right.
great business. Oh my God, he's wearing Gucci. Wow, man, he must be doing a wonderful money business. We are hustling for that thing. We just want to show people. We want to get a validation from people. And I am pretty much ashamed, but I am like this only. I believe I would look up to be someone who get contentment and simplicity. Again, sometimes I get flashy. I do get flashy and very guilty for that.
Yeah, and part of that is immaturity, and we acknowledge that. But like we know that we are young,
But Aaron, yeah,
but we.
exactly. We both are young. We all are young. A lot of people who do this are young.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I want to live this moment as well. Like, live this part of my life as well. Maybe down the line, like 15 years down the line, I might become like him. Simplicity and everything. But for now, I want to live this flashy life and hustling over materialistic things. I want to experience everything in my life.
That's awesome. So when you say that a lot of people confuse saving money with not having happiness, and a lot of people confuse it with that. So when you save money, that also means that you spend some part of your money, and some part of your money should go into some buying, first necessity, and second
Leisure.
what leisure, and third happiness. Like if you're buying an iPhone and it gives you happiness, I believe at
It's
like
worth
my
it.
age, yeah, I think it's worth it. It's fine. And a lot of people want cars, a lot of people want mansions, and if living in a mansion gives you happiness, then
True.
that's you, and that you should do you.
You are
And
not supposed to be accountable to others. If it's
yeah,
serving your purpose, it is great. And Aaron,
yeah,
do you have you ever felt this way when you buy something out of your money and it's luxurious? You get more passionate to work and grab more money, more luxuries, just for the heck of buying and buying more good
mhm.
things. You get passionate. You get a kick in your work. Isn't this
You know,
amazing?
yeah, this is an amazing concept. I understand this. I've never felt like that. So when I spend my money, I feel guilty, and so that's me. Then that could be
Now
just
you know
me.
the term for you. You know the term for you. How do we call people like you? It's like
Investor mind.
no, like yeah, I gave you first term. I invented a term for you, but you are someone who falls under the category of dissonance buyer.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, you feel guilty and you feel bad after you buy something, but I respect that. We all are different.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't buy much stuff. Like that's my lifestyle, and I want to live like that. I like that. That gives me happiness. Saving money gives some people happiness.
That is
And
true.
and the other thing, I actually tweeted this, and I asked people why do you want to be rich? And a lot of people said charity. A lot of people said I want to buy this car. I want to buy that house. A lot of people said travel. Actually, I included that in my answer that I'll go first. I love to travel and I want to travel more. So that's where my money going into happiness part goes. Like I wouldn't get happiness from an iPhone, but I would definitely get happiness from like touring the Caribbean. So it's different for different people. And for me, I really don't understand why people would buy
Hmm.
a Nike T-shirt, right? And
Hmm.
but that is why I wanted this podcast to understand their psychology, like understand why, what drives people to buy those things. And this dissonance buying, it's like seriously, like that is true. uh,
Yeah, right.
yeah. And the psychology behind why I want to travel is because that's the only
That's the
only
pleasure
thing.
principle for you.
What's yeah, pressure principle, yeah. Yeah. That's the only thing that gives me happiness besides of things which can't be bought.
Non-materialistic thing. Yeah.
Yeah, which can't be bought by money.
And you know, when you say travel, travel is something which is not materialistic. It's a feeling. It's not a tangible thing,
Yeah, and
right?
I really feel you can buy experiences.
Uh,
When you have more money.
I am going to tweet it, and this time you won't get any credit. What do you just say? What did
I
you
just
just say?
tweeted it.
Then that
No,
is
no.
really bad.
So I said that you can buy experiences. You can buy travel experiences. You can buy.
Traveling is like buying experiences.
Yeah, it is.
You
It's
just
not
need
like
to.
it
You just
is
need.
buying experience.
Okay. You just need to forget this, and I'm going to tweet it, and I'm going to put it over LinkedIn. I am a real time thief. Okay, everybody. Apologies, I'm
Real
not being
time,
a thief.
real time content creator, document versus create, right? Gary Vee strategy.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's one more thing in this. When we're talking about products, we're also talking about non-physical products, like something like a cred. Why would anybody want to use cred?
Huh. Yeah.
Oh, because they're creating a FOMO. Let's not dive very deep into it. I need to learn and I need to understand more about this. There's a
Yeah.
person who knows a lot about it, and probably we'll invite him on our podcast. But
True.
something like an Instagram, why would anybody be driven to use a Snapchat? Why would anybody be driven to use LinkedIn or
Clubhouse.
Instagram, Clubhouse, Twitter?
Hmm.
And why would anybody need more followers? What's the psychology behind that? Is it just,
Validation.
yeah, I was going to say, is it just simple validation?
Yeah.
Number
Yeah.
of likes, number of analytics, you see 24,000 views, you're excited that it's working.
Exactly, exactly. And it's happening right from the beginning. Right from the beginning. Our ancestors used to love validation. They used to like cherish those people who used to sit in the groups. We are born and brought up in such a way, even if you are an introvert, you might not talk to people on face-to-face basis, but you might
Mhm.
find yourself very active over social media because that is serving your purpose for validation.
Right, right.
And I believe,
Unless
yeah.
you're using it for productive stuff. Like I'm using it for my business, you're using it for your business, but and you're not motivated by your follower count increase. I am not motivated, but I get very happy when my follower count on
So
Twitter
I do.
increases.
So I do. And same happens to me over Instagram. I barely have 500 followers. And sometimes I feel like people are doing great over Instagram. But then I feel like I am looking over my niche. Okay. So very little people are looking over their niche. They're still buying fake
Mhm.
followers. Even if I'm getting 50 likes, even if I'm getting good views on my reel, I am targeting my niche. So that serves my purpose. Definitely, it's a lot less, but I think your clarity matters. What your work
Right.
requires clarity, and this can lead you to a less anxious life. Because when you're
Yeah.
just hustling behind followers, likes, किसने like करा, किसने नहीं करा. I
Mhm.
love being on social media. Uh, I have been very active over spaces and all. But at the same time, I feel like 4 दिन तक भी अगर मैंने Instagram पे post नहीं डाला, it's valid because वो अंदर से आना चाहिए. The thing should come
Mhm.
from inside. When I want to write something for that, that is fruitful. अगर मुझे someone is forcing me to write or some timeline is forcing me, then I might not be in the best of myself.
Right, right.
Yeah, and
And
we are. Yeah.
um, I really want to ask one more thing from you.
Mhm.
Like, just tell me in proper psychology perspective, why does such a thing happen when you charge people for something? They are more likely to use it. Like, suppose I I am guilty for this. I bought a 100 rupee newsletter, 100 rupee per month newsletter,
Hmm.
and I have a free newsletter. I don't read the free newsletter, but I am more driven to read the 100 rupee newsletter. Why is that? And it comes once a month. That newsletter, it's so informative, but still, it's not worth 100 rupees. But they still did it so well. They made me buy it, and they made me make me read it every day, and that's their purpose. So why is that?
Okay. So when it's like psychology, it's a very basic psychology. It wasn't like that before. When we used to have barter system, you give me something, I give you something. It wasn't like that. People used to respect things. People used to cherish what they get free because they had little resources and they had to use it, right? But
Mhm.
when money got introduced in our economy, what happened? Everybody started hustling for that. Now, tell me one person, like obviously not talking about monks and very people with good wisdom who are not hustling for money. Other than those people, all the people who are in business, everybody is doing it for money. Even if the ones who are doing charity, they also need money, so they are also doing a business for money, right?
Mhm.
So money is definitely a drive. Now you tell me, Aaron, even the child knows the value of money. Okay, so you 5-year-old child and your parents just give you a chocolate and they tell you that okay, you got it, you eat it. So you might not instantly eat it, you might keep it in your pocket कि अभी तो पेट भरा हुआ है, I'm full with my stomach, let me eat it next time, अभी बाद में खाऊंगा. And at the same time your parents tell you that Aaron, okay, listen, do this, do some dusting at your place, help your father to clean the car, and then you'll get a chocolate. Okay,
Mhm. Yeah.
then you are doing a lot of things to get that chocolate. So you know the value of it. Now, if someone would ask you to give you like take a free chocolate from you, the one that your mother gave you earlier, you might not be very hesitant. ठीक है तो ऐसे ही आई थी ऐसे ही किसी को दे दी. If you're humble enough, a lot of people are not even humble to share their things, but if you're humble enough, you might end up giving. But the
Mhm.
chocolate you earned, after doing a
Yeah.
lot of work at your with your family would not make you give it away to others because it's very hard for you. The same thing happens with the things where money comes in. So you have earned it, you have done something to have it, so you know the value of it. Now if something is coming free for you, then you might encourage it for 1 day, for 2 day, but after that you might not be very punctual for it. You might not be very justified to that thing because money is not there, nothing is on stake. If you might
Right.
not get it, there is nothing. But when we add money, just a matter of a little money, even if a little money. Now I know, even if it's 100 rupees you are adding,
Yeah.
you are adding insight to that product because it's something which asked you to do something. Even that 100 rupee note made you do something.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's not just coming from a tree, you plugged it and you have it. No, you did something for it. Same thing
You're
happens.
equalizing it with the value, like giving it a value. And
Absolutely. And you,
yeah.
whenever you buy something, you are giving value to your efforts. Okay. So,
Right.
and I personally believe I want to have the same mantra in my life that whenever I buy something, I should just be mindful about, is this thing adding value to my heart, like to my hard earned money, my sweat, whatever I did. So if I would be a very, very grateful person if I can do this in my life. Because if you're standing on a cash counter of a good store and you're just looking over that 5,000 ki Armani ki t-shirt, that
Mhm.
okay, let me just recall my last month. Even if I'm earning like 50,000 a month, uh, did I actually am I actually valuing that entire 1 month salary? And I need to think about just a little flashback that what that 5,000 made me do. I had to
Yeah.
wake up early, I
True.
had to sleep late. Just a little introspection can
Mhm.
really change my pattern of buying.
True. True. And
Yeah.
when we are talking about product development, like we are developing a product for ourselves, it's called FinFlow, and it's for finance and startup and like people in stock market and crypto.
Mhm.
So when we are developing it, we are reading a lot. We are understanding like why people want to use a product. It's two things. It's either it's addictive. You should make it addictive,
Mhm.
or when you're giving it away for free, something like a Facebook, they make it addictive. They made it so well, and they want creators or they want people to share themselves, and they've triggered such a psychology that it's very addictive. Either you make it addictive, that is why like people come again and again, or you give it real value. And
Mhm.
by real value we mean you attach it with the price, and you say that you're gonna get quality if you pay. Okay.
True.
Yeah. And it's very interesting to understand. We won't dive very deep into it. It's already been like 40 minutes, or more than 40 minutes we've been speaking.
Hmm.
But it's very interesting. I'm gonna end this with saying that it's very interesting that uh, people love free stuff, but when you get free stuff, you don't value it. And
True.
and in essence, you value
And Aaron, I just want
validation.
to add
Yeah.
one more thing. So, if you get free stuff from someone you love, maybe it's like if I say that if we add feelings to a product, no, and even if it's for free, then the value is added as well. So even if something is serving your feelings, it might
Yeah.
end up adding value to your product.
Right. Right. Okay. Uh, yeah. So it was a nice, deep conversation. I really like that. I learned a lot from you, Janvi.
Likewise,
Yeah.
likewise, likewise. And I believe we should do this more often because I personally feel very unfiltered, very candid whenever I'm talking over this platform. So it's a real time comfort zone for me.
Right. Same. Here. And we can go on and on. We can even do like if we could have gone on and on about this also. We could have done a 2 hour podcast, and someday I think we'll have that kind of chat. But who will listen to us talking for
Someday
2 hours?
that would also happen.
Yeah.
Someday people might listen to us
Yeah.
as well.
Plus, we need to reserve our thoughts also. Now we don't know that much that we're gonna talk about things for
Hmm.
2 hours, and then it becomes boring too. So yeah, this is a small little packet for you and sharing our whatever we know
Little
about.
learning we have.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
little learning.
Very little learnings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're ending this humble podcast episode. It was about psychology, and I really believe you got something out of it. Um, so thanks, Janvi, for joining in. Janvi is my co-host. We are co-hosts,
We are
and we
together
do.
in this.
Yeah, we are together in this, and we're gonna invite more people to this podcast. Definitely.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. In and
Thank you.
do
Have a
listen to
good
our
day. Stay safe.
yeah, do listen to our previous podcast too if you like it. It's not very good. This one was definitely much better. So yeah, thanks for joining in. Bye.
Bye.